Picture this: you wake up on a Tuesday morning. No alarm clock, no rush to get ready for work. This is supposed to be the dream, right? The retirement you worked 40 years for, but instead of feeling peaceful, your chest feels tight. Your mind starts racing through a list of worries. Finances, health problems, whether you're still needed, whether you matter anymore. That was Michael's reality. A 64-year-old former construction manager from Ohio, Michael had spent decades building projects, leading teams, and solving problems. When retirement finally arrived, he expected calm mornings, afternoon golf, and quality time with his grandchildren. Instead, he found himself lying awake at 3 in the morning, worrying about everything and nothing at the same time. Have you ever felt that way? Like the freedom you worked so hard for somehow became a source of stress instead of joy. You're not alone, and today we're going to walk through Michael's journey from constant worrying to genuine calm. And more importantly, we'll share the specific steps that helped him reclaim his peace. These same straight G's can help you or someone you love who's navigating the emotional side of retirement after 60. Welcome to Senior Health Facts, your trusted home for real solutions to the health challenges we face as we age. If living with less anxiety and more joy matters to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Let's get started. Here's something most people don't talk about. Retirement is supposed to be the golden years, but the transition can actually trigger unexpected emotional struggles. You lose your daily routine. Your sense of identity shifts, the social connections we had at work disappear overnight. And suddenly you have all this time to think, which sometimes means all this time to worrying. For adults over 60, anxiety is far more common. And than most people realize. Research shows that globally, about 14 to 17% of adults age 65 and older are estimated to have an anxiety disorder. That's roughly 1 in every 6 or 7 older adults. The World Health Organization reports that around 14% of adults age 70 and up live with a mental disorder, and anxiety is often under-recognized in this age group. Think about that for a moment. Millions of older adults are quietly struggling with anxiety, and many assume it's just part of getting old or something they should just push through. Michael thought exactly that. He told himself, "I'm just adjusting. It'll pass," but weeks turned into months and the anxiety didn't go away. He felt restless, unmoored, like a ship without an anchor. His story is a powerful reminder. Feeling anxious in retirement isn't a personal failure. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a signal. Your mind and body are telling you that something needs attention, and recognizing that signal early can help you steer toward peace, rather than letting anxiety steer you into isolation and unhappiness. Let me explain why this happens. When you retire, your brain loses the structure it relied on for decades. You go from scheduled meetings, deadlines, and clear daily goals to open-ended days where you have to create your own purpose. For many people, that's liberating. But for others, it feels like standing at the edge of a canyon with no bridge across. Add to that the very real concerns that come with aging. Worries about health, finances, losing independence, or becoming a burden to loved ones, and you have a perfect storm for anxiety to take root. But here's the good news. Anxiety in retirement is manageable. With the right strategies, habits, and sometimes a little professional guidance, you can move from worrying to calm. Michael did it, and so can you. Before we talk about what works, let's talk about what doesn't. Here are 5 common Traps that older adults fall into when dealing with anxiety in retirement and why they can actually make things worse. The first mistake is assuming anxiety is just part of aging. When we tell ourselves this is just how it is now, we close the door on solutions. Anxiety isn't an inevitable part of getting older. Yes, life circumstances change, but persistent worrying, sleepless nights, and constant unease are not things you just have to accept. Michael spent the first 3 months of retirement telling himself it would pass on its own. It didn't. The moment he recognized anxiety as a real issue, not just a phase, was the moment he could start addressing it. The second mistake is isolation. Yourself after retirement, work gives us more than a paycheck. It gives us social connections, casual conversations, a sense of belonging. When that disappears and you don't replace it, you become vulnerable to rumination and worrying. Michael used to chat with his team every day, joke around during lunch breaks, and feel needed. After retiring, he found himself spending entire days alone. That isolation fed his anxiety. Human connection isn't optional for mental health, it's essential. The third mistake is neglecting routines and structure. Michael's schedule went from 5 busy days in the office to what should I do today, with no plan. His mind wandered straight into worrying. Studies consistently show that older adults who maintain daily routines report better mental health. Structure gives your brain something to focus on besides fear. Without it, anxiety has room to grow. The fourth mistake is focusing only on physical health and ignoring mental health. Many retirees are diligent about their annual checkups, blood pressure monitoring, and cholesterol levels. That's great, but mental health deserves the same attention. Michael went to his doctor regularly for physical health but never mentioned how anxious he felt. He thought mental health wasn't something you bothered the doctor about. That mindset kept him suffering longer than necessary. The fifth mistake is trying to power through anxiety with willpower alone. This is a big one. Michael tried to just push through his anxiety, telling himself to toughen up and stop worrying so much. But anxiety doesn't work that way. It's not a character flaw you fix with discipline. It's a complex response involving your nervous system, your thoughts, your environment, and your lifestyle. Managing it requires strategies, habits, and sometimes professional support. Willpower alone rarely works. If you've fallen into any of these traps, don't feel bad. Most people do. The important thing is recognizing them so you can make a different choice starting today. Now let's get into the good stuff. The actions that actually helped Michael find peace and that you can start applying this week. We're going to build this in layers, starting with small micro habits you can try right away, then moving into deeper practices that create lasting change. Let's start with 3 micro habits you can try in your first week. The first habit is the 3-minute morning check-in. Each morning for the next 5 days, sit quietly with your coffee or tea for just 3 minutes. No phone, no television, just you. And ask yourself one simple question. How am I feeling right now? Don't judge the answer. Don't try to fix anything, just notice. Michael started doing this and realized he'd been ignoring his emotions for months. Simply acknowledging them was the first step toward managing them. The second habit is to reach out to one person, at least on this week. Contact a former work colleague, an old friend, or a family member you haven't spoken to in a while. Schedule a short phone call or a walk together. Rebuilding social connection helps calm anxiety. Michael reached out to a former co-worker, and they started meeting for coffee every other week. That one connection made a huge difference. The third habit is to write down one word. Pick one retirement worrying that's been circling in your head and write it down on paper. Just seeing it physically in front of you helps you face it instead of letting it grow in the dark. Runners of your mind. Michael wrote down, "I'm worried I'll run out of money before I die." Once it was on paper, he could actually start addressing it with concrete steps instead of just feeling afraid. Now let's move to mid-level actions you can try during weeks 2 through 4. The first action is to establish a new routine with anchor habits. Michael created 3 anchor habits for his week: Monday morning walk in the park, Wednesday afternoon at the local library book club, and Friday volunteer time at a community food bank. These weren't random activities. They gave him purpose, rhythm, and something to look forward to. Pick 2 or 3 anchor habits for your week and commit to them for a month. Make them social when possible. The second action is to do mind-body practice. 10 minutes of gentle breathing exercises, yoga, or Tai Chi can help calm your nervous system and support mental focus. Research shows that these practices reduce anxiety symptoms in older adults. Michael started with just 5 minutes of deep breathing every evening before dinner. He used a simple technique: breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out for 6. After 2 weeks, he noticed he was sleeping better. The third action is to reframe the identity shift. Instead of thinking, "I'm retired and I've lost my purpose," try this: "I'm retired and I'm free to explore new purposes." Write down one new interest or skill you'd like to try. It could be learning to paint, taking a cooking class, mentoring young people in your former field, or learning a new language. Michael decided to learn woodworking. It gave him a sense of creating something again, which he'd missed deeply. Now for advanced practices you can implement from month 2 and beyond. The first practice is to build a structured social network. Join a club, volunteer organization, or community group. Studies consistently show that retirees who maintain social participation have better mental health outcomes. Michael joined a local men's breakfast group at his church. Even though he wasn't particularly religious, he found the weekly gathering gave him a sense of community he desperately needed. The second practice is to work with a mental health professional or coach. If you find anxiety persists, routine worries, sleep disturbances, avoiding activities you used to enjoy, it may be time for guided support. Michael waited 6 months before finally seeing a therapist who specialized in life transitions. That decision changed everything. Therapy gave him tools to manage his thoughts and a safe space to process his feelings. There's no shame in getting help. In fact, it's one of the smartest things you see and do. The third practice is to set a retirement mission map. Michael sketched out a 12-month retirement wish list with 4 themes. Stay active, connect with others, learn something new, and give back. Every month, he picked 1 or 2 items under those themes and reflected on his progress. It gave his retirement direction without feeling overwhelming. You can create your own version. Think of it as a roadmap for the next chapter of your life. Here's a simple checklist you can print out and put on your refrigerator. First, sat quietly for 3 minutes each morning and noted how I felt. Second, reached out to one friend or former colleague and scheduled a connection. Third, wrote down 1 worrying and 1 action I could take about it. Fourth, chosen a new anchor habit, a class, volunteer activity, and committed to it. And fifth, practiced 10 minutes of mindful breathing or gentle movement at least 3 times. Start with just these 5 things. Don't try to do everything at once. Small, consistent actions create lasting change. Let me tell you what happened to Michael after 6 months of following these steps. He still has moments of worrying. He's human, boo. The constant, heavy anxiety that used to wake him up at 3 in the morning, it's gone. He's sleeping better. He's more engaged with his grandchildren. He's made new friends through volunteering. And most importantly, he feels like himself again. Not the stressed-out version, but the calm, capable person he'd always been. Michael told me something that stuck with me. He said, I spent 40 years building things for other people. Now I'm learning to build a life for myself. And that's okay. You deserve that same sense of peace. You deserve to wake up and feel excited about the day ahead, not anxious about what might go wrong. You deserve to enjoy the retirement you worked so hard for. So here's my challenge to you. Start with just one small change tonight. Pick one micro habit from this video, just one. Maybe it's sitting quietly for 3 minutes tomorrow morning. Maybe it's reaching out to an old friend. Maybe it's writing down that worrying that's been keeping you up at night. One small step. That's all you need to begin. If Michael's story resonated with you, please click the like button, subscribe to Senior Health Facts, and share this video with someone over 60 who might also be feeling restless or anxious in retirement. Your support helps us reach more people who need this information. And remember, if anxiety is interfering with your sleep, your mood, your energy, or your daily joy, reach out to your doctor or a qualified mental health professional. You deserve peace in your retirement years. Don't wait. Take that first step today. Now let's address some of the most commonly asked questions about anxiety in retirement. Many people ask whether feeling anxious after retiring is normal. Yes, absolutely. Many people over 60 experience anxiety during the transition from work to retirement. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It's simply a signal that your brain and body are adapting to a major life change. The loss of structure, identity, and social connection can be disorienting. What matters is recognizing it and taking steps to address it, rather than ignoring it or assuming it will just go away on its own. Another common question is, when should I seek professional help rather than just wait it out? If you experience persistent worrying that doesn't improve after several weeks, trouble sleeping most nights, withdrawal from activities you used to enjoy, or if the anxiety is heavy enough to reduce your quality of life, it's time to talk to a professional. Don't wait until you're in crisis. Early intervention makes treatment easier and more effective. A therapist or counselor who specializes in older adults and life transitions can be incredibly helpful. People also wonder whether exercise and hobbies can really help reduce anxiety in retirement. Yes, they can make a significant difference. Physical activity, purposeful hobbies, social connection, and daily routines all support mental health and help reduce anxiety symptoms, especially in older adults. They won't magically cure severe anxiety, but they're powerful tools for managing it. Think of them as part of your overall mental health toolkit, along with other strategies like therapy, stress management, and social support. Many ask about financial anxiety specifically. My biggest worry is financial. How do I handle that anxiety? Financial anxiety is one of the most common worries in retirement, and it's completely understandable. The key is to break it into manageable steps, rather than letting it spiral. First, List your actual concerns, be specific. Second, talk with a financial advisor who can give you a realistic picture of your situation. Third, set SMA lines action steps like creating a budget or exploring additional income options. And fourth, pair those practical steps with stress management practices like the breathing exercises we mentioned earlier. Doing nothing often increases anxiety. Taking even small actions helps restore a sense of control. What role does social connection play in reducing anxiety for retirees? A huge role. Retirees who engage socially, volunteer, or join groups consistently report better mental well-being. Lack of connection is one of the strongest risk factors for persistent anxiety and depression. In older adults, humans are social creatures. We need interaction, conversation, and a sense of belonging. If you've lost those connections through retirement, rebuilding them should be a top priority. It doesn't have to be a lot. Even 1 or 2 meaningful connections can make a real difference. Some people worrying they're too old to change. I'm already 70. Am I too late to make these changes? Not at all. Changes at any age can support better mental health, more purpose, and less anxiety. In fact, many people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s report finding new passions, friendships, and peace in later life. Your brain remains capable of forming new habits and adapting to change throughout your entire life. It's never too late to find a new rhythm or to seek help if you need it. Finally, people ask, what should I ask my doctor or therapist when I go in? Here are some conversation starters you can use. I've been feeling more anxious in my retirement than I expected. Can we review what might be contributing to this? Could my sleep quality, medications, or lifestyle be fueling this anxiety? What simple steps can I take? Can you recommend a local support group or counselor experienced with retirees and anxiety? Don't be afraid to be direct. Your healthcare providers want to help, but they can't address what they don't know about. Bringing up your mental health is just as important as discussing your blood pressure or cholesterol. Let me share a practical summary of what to avoid and what to do instead. First, instead of assuming anxiety is just a normal part of aging, recognize it as a signal and explore what's behind it. Second, rather than isolating yourself and losing structure after retirement, build anchor habits and a weekly routine with walks, clubs, and volunteering. Third, don't neglect your mental health because you're physically fine. Include mind-body practices like breath-in, exercises, yoga, and Tai Chi. Fourth, instead of waiting for perfect retirement before adapting, start micro habits now. Try the 3-minute check-in and reach out to one friend. Fifth, rather than letting finances, health worries, or identity concerns fester, take one step this week. Write down a worrying plus one action. And finally, don't do everything alone. Build social connections and seek peer or professional support. Here's a daily routine suggestion based on what we've covered today. In the morning, start your day with a 3-minute quiet check-in. Sit with your coffee, breathe deeply, and simply notice how you're feeling without judgment. At midday, engage in one anchor habit. A walk, a class, a volunteer activity, or meeting a friend for lunch. Give your day structure and purpose. In the evening, practice 10 minutes of mindful breathing or gentle stretching. This helps calm your nervous system before bed and supports better sleep. As a bonus, once a week, write down one worrying and one small action you can take to address it. Facing worries on paper makes them manageable instead of overwhelming. Here are the key studies and sources referenced in this video. The World Health Organization's report on mental health of older adults from 2022 notes that around 14% of adults age 70 and older live with a mental disorder, and anxiety is often under-recognized in this population. A study published in PMC on incidence of anxiety in latest life and risk factors from 2021 finds a point prevalence of around 17% for anxiety disorders among older adults and links these disorders to quality of life impairments. KFF's report, 1 in 4 older adults report anxiety or depression amid the COVID-19 pandemic. From 2020 notes that 24% of adults ages 65 and up reported anxiety or depression during the pandemic, up from approximately 11% in 2018. Another PMC study on prevalence of anxiety symptoms and their association with loss from 2017 finds a 14% prevalence of anxiety and the oldest old population and highlights life events like losses as key triggers. Research published in Frontiers in Psychiatry titled The Prevalence and Correlates of Anxiety Among Older Adults from 2023 reviews varying rates of 15 to 50% of anxiety symptoms in elders, underscoring that detection and support are often inadequate. And finally, a stud. Why in Science adherent on mental health around retirement, evidence of Ashenfelter's dip from 2023 explores how retirement transitions influence mental health outcomes among older adults. These sources are provided for educational purposes. We encourage you to explore them further if you'd like to learn more about the research behind anxiety in older adults. Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind you of something important. Everything we've shared today is for educational purposes to help you make informed choices about your mental health and well-being. The story of Michael is based on real experiences shared by individuals navigating retirement anxiety. Those specific details have been adapted to protect privacy and illustrate common patterns. I always encourage you to work with your doctor or healthcare provider before making any significant changes to your mental health routine, beginning therapy, or changing medications. They know your personal health history best and can guide you on what's right for your specific situation. Every person is unique, and what worked wonderfully for Michael might need small adjustments for you. Your healthcare team is your best partner in this journey toward peace and better mental health. If you're experiencing severe anxiety, thoughts of self-harm, or a mental health crisis, please reach out to a crisis hotline or emergency services immediately. Help is available, and you don't have to face this alone. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.